Good morning. Good morning to you. Welcome. This is Leaning In with Anne. This is my live walk and talk that I do every weekday morning. It is now time to get into loving behavior, what it actually means, how to do this. All right. So there is a book called Living Through the Meantime. It was one of the most profound books that I read when my marriage was starting to disintegrate. It is not a book that says divorce your husband. It is not a book of anger. It just cleared up my head and my space so that I knew what I needed to do. So those of you who don't know, it was a big deal, and I will just give this much. 17 years ago, my ex-husband and my best friend had a baby together while she lived inside my home. That was crazy town. And there was a lot of things that I allowed. Not my fault. That was inappropriate. So what happened was, this is how I came to the book. I dropped my girls off at dance. Usually I would go and I would sit and wait for them if I wasn't teaching or talk to the office staff. And this time I dropped them off. We went to go park, and Heavenly Father said, no, go to the bookstore. I kind of learned to hear those nudges, you know? And so I dropped them off and I went to the bookstore, and I got out of the car and I walked in. I remember feeling like, I don't even know why I'm here. What am I even doing right now? And I just felt myself walking, kind of being pulled. And I went into the self-help stuff and I let my eyes just kind of scan the shelves. And this book, In the Meantime, jumped out at me. And I looked at it and I could feel it. I could feel the Spirit said, this, you need this. It was so powerful and so important for me in so many ways. So, Living Through the Meantime is the workbook companion to that book. We are going over the first parts of this loving behavior that came from the book that I read. This was revolutionary. It's the things that my parents never taught me that I should be taught in order to have a productive and healthy relationship. They didn't know how to do this, so they didn't teach it. My family, some of you know, is pretty toxic. And I spent my life working on getting rid of the toxicity. This is one of the biggest ones. All right, here we go. I'm going to just speak it. I printed it out for myself today. I'm going to speak it. We're going to talk about the first few. Ready? Ask for exactly what you would love. Tell the absolute truth about what you would love. Clearly let others involved know your expectations of them. Ask for clarity about what's expected of you. Tell the absolute truth about your ability to live up to the expectations of others. So that totally took out the yes in me, because I had to pause and see if it was possible. Ready? Renegotiate any agreements you have made if you find you're unable to keep those agreements. I learned that you either do it or you're ashamed because you're not fulfilling and magnifying whatever you said yes to. And then I would have all this shame that I didn't want to hide. It was crazy. Next one, honor what you feel to yourself first. That's kind of what we've been working on. And then to others around you. You got to own and honor what you're feeling. Today, I honored the fact that I felt really vulnerable walking through the neighborhood. I don't feel vulnerable at the park. Nobody's here. And I had to look at the why. And I found out that I'm judging people who are doing exactly what I'm doing with the camera and the walking and the vanity of them. Funny. All right, next, remain open. Remain open to hearing. Oh, this is so good. Hearing what others want and expect without feeling like you have to do anything about it. I'm gonna say that one again. Remain open to hearing what others want and expect without feeling like you have to do anything about it. Never dishonor or deny yourself or what you feel simply to please someone else. Now, I'm going to go to the next one that kind of takes that. Be willing to surrender what you want or expect when surrendering serves a greater purpose, such as healing or generating love. What happens is now you're not controlled. We're going to really dive deep into some of this. Now you're not controlled. You're making a choice. Next one, be willing to forgive people for the things they do or fail to do in fear or anger. The next thing, be willing to forgive yourself for the things you do in fear and anger. And bless every experience. And ask the divine will and understanding be granted to you and others. So we're going to go from the top. And I'm going to continue this as part of our walk and talk until we get through this, because I think it's really important. Let's go back to the beginning. Ask for exactly what you would love. That's not the first step. The first step is, what would you love? And when I say that, it's what would you love to feel? I remember feeling it with my son. Ask for exactly what you want. Well, what I wanted is for him to get his head screwed on straight and get back to church. Because if he was back to church, I could be calm. I could not worry. I could know that he was on the straight and narrow. He'd not left the covenant path. I could, you need to do this. Like I've taught you from the beginning, what I would love is for you to do this. Guess what the problem is? It really sucks. You are not actually in charge of anybody else's experience. You can't make them feel spiritual. You can't make them have a connection to God. You can't make them appreciate all you've done for them. You can't make them. They'll tell you that you made them angry and that you made them feel ashamed and that you made them blah, blah, blah. The truth is, you don't have that superpower. If you had a superpower to make people feel something, I have a feeling you wouldn't make people feel all the negative they tell you that you do. It's not true. So here's the thing. You've got to actually get clear about what you would love. What would I love? With my child. When I did this, I realized that church, I had to say, why church? Why is that the answer? That's the how. But the how to what? What do I want? Well, I want a connection. Because if we're worshiping the same God in the same way, then I feel connected to you. I wanted to be trusted. I wanted connection. And I wanted connection over what I thought was the right way to connect. I was losing my son. When I held him in my arms as a baby, I never realized that we were going to be in this situation. I needed to be safe. I wanted to feel like he could come to me. I didn't know how to do that because I'd screwed up so many times. I had pushed him away. I judged him. I wasn't safe. I didn't hear him. I heard me. I heard all of my guilt and my shame about how he was supposed to show up so that I could be okay and he could be safe. So I finally connected with, I want him to be safe. I want to be safe. That's what I would love above all other things. For him to be safe and for him to feel like I was safe. And so that is where I went to Heavenly Father and I said, I don't know how. I'm a puny little human that thinks I understand things, and I've actually got maybe 0% of 1/10, if that's even a number, of understanding. You're kind of the God of the universe. You created a mite, you created a whale, you created every blade of grass and these trees and these clouds and every bug that's in the ground right now. You might be creative enough to help me. I feel like I failed you. But the feelings of shame and like I'm a failure are getting in the way. So I'm willing to let go of everything that everybody has told me about what I'm supposed to do to find connection and safety with my son. I'm now willing to let you prevail and let you be my God. Help me. Teach me. I am willing to let people judge me. I am willing to stand in holy ground, and I'm willing to do what you ask. Help me be brave enough. Help me be courageous enough. Help me do what you ask, even if it seems really unloving, because I want to do this in love. But I'll tell you what I didn't want more than anything else. I did not want my son dead at 36. I was willing to let go of everybody's perceptions of me and of that relationship and say, this is me and you, Lord. Nobody has to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, saying what I'm saying, allowing what I'm allowing. In this particular case, he is such an independent, fierce warrior. He is a rebel. And rebels are one of God's fiercest warriors for choice, individuality. And they come here and it seems like they fight about everything and they always have to do it their way and they don't conform, and they are leaders. You can see it, they're born leaders, and yet they won't even step up, and Satan uses that against them. So I was supposed to let go, and it was against everything that I knew. Everything that I knew. We had an agreement, and that was once a week on Sunday, call me. I had an agreement with myself that I would never judge him, and I would just stay present and hear what his experiences were without telling him what to do. One of the hardest things in my entire existence to do. So hard. I would pray, Heavenly Father, just keep him physically safe. And the minute he calls out your name, please grab him. Just grab him. Help me stay safe for him. There was a call at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, where he made a flip, and I was the one that he called. And he hasn't looked back since. It was absolutely a miracle. None of it was my doing. God really stopped me. You're going to laugh at this. You ready? Okay, everybody, I'm just going to expose myself a little bit. So you can't ask for what you want of God if you don't trust what you want. Okay, ready? I wanted the kids safe. I have a friend who was one of the very, very first air marshals. Very first air marshals ever. And had a lot of authority and a lot of stuff. Well, we were talking about some of the stuff that was going on with my son. And I had a brilliant idea. I go, oh my gosh, I know what you can do. Oh my gosh. Like, you want to scare the bejeebies out of a bunch of teenagers? Like, he was 20. You want to help me? Okay, look, dress up in black. Go like all SWAT team, right? With you and your buddies. Get a van. Pound the door down. Scare these kids. Grab my son. Stick him in the van. Bring him to North Carolina. Like, that'll shock his system enough. So I think this will work. Oh my gosh, I was so dang excited. I wanted it to happen so bad. I wanted it to happen so bad that I was praying to Heavenly Father if we could enact my plan. I even went, not saying anything about what was going on, to my bishop to get a priesthood blessing for confirmation because it was a good plan. The bishop didn't even know my son. He didn't know much about what was going on because they didn't say anything. And in that blessing, I was told as a mother with a kid who was violating what I consider to be the laws of God to sit still. he said in that blessing, God is a God of miracles, and he will reach down. It is not your job. Be still. And this bishop had no clue. I was devastated. I was afraid that he wouldn't, because he didn't save my brother. Fear all over in me. And then I heard it again, be still. Be still. There were times, this is after my divorce, there were times in that divorce where there was chaos, and I found stillness in the middle of it, where I could just have a direct line between me and God about what we were supposed to do in the moment. And he's like, I need you there. Just be there. Just be there. It was about 6 months or so later when the phone call came. So we're going to go back to lesson 1. Ask for exactly what you want. Change the word want. Change the word want into love. Ask yourself, what would I love to feel? Then ask God, will you teach me how to feel this? In the midst of everything that's going on, I don't know how, but it seems impossible. And in your puny little human mind and the way that you're going to do things, it absolutely is. God knows the way. And so the only thing you have to do is say, teach me. Teach me what is my role, what is yours. Teach me how to have this feeling regardless of whether anybody else in my world changes. Teach me. And that is what opens everything up. That is what led me to this book. Because there were things that were going on with that divorce that I had to learn this lesson. I just had to refine it when I was doing my son. So ask for exactly what you would love. So I'm going to leave you with one thing. We're going to get to the rest of this stuff. And we're just going to keep peeling this crap apart so we figure it out. Those of you who are worried about your children and are sitting in this stewardship, you have stewardship over these children and God has trusted you with them and all of this stuff. The problem that we have is we believe that that means we have to turn over perfected beings in order to fulfill our stewardship. So I'm going to leave you with this. This is the guilt relief for parents. I'm not going to go into the experience because I don't want to expose my son. But I had an experience and I left where my son was and I cried to God and I said, I failed you. All of the evidence is right there. I failed you. I failed you. And what I heard was, no, you did not fail me. This is why. He knows who I am. He knows what my son did, and he knows how to access us when he's ready. Well done. There's a moment where we have to go like this, and we hand our children over, and they're not perfect. I don't know about you. Anybody here? Anybody here whose parent actually perfected them? Like is perfecting them? That the parent, your parents, are in charge of making sure you're a perfected being? Is that their job? Are they doing that for you? Because mine, nope. There's a time when we turn our stewardship over to God. It's appropriate. It's time to let him have his child. This is where this thought came from. I was mopping the floor when I was a little girl. My mother was telling me a story about a roommate in college who didn't even know how to mop the floor. She didn't know how to clean a toilet. She didn't know how to wash dishes. She'd had maids and servants and all sorts of things, and so she didn't know how. And I remember my mom saying her mother failed her. Her mother failed her to know how to clean. Guess what? My kids know how to clean a toilet. Does my youngest Jaden keep his toilet clean? No. It's his choice now. I stay out of that room. That one's not mine. If he wants that funk, not mine. That's his. Does he know how? Yeah, he and his wife can get in a fight about that, right? When he gets married, he knows how to clean that. I have not failed him. The other thing that the Lord told me in that moment, that I know he knew who God was, he knew what Christ did, and he knew how to access them. And then I heard this, and he will reject this. I do not dwell here. He doesn't want me. This Spirit is not here. But you provided a home where the Spirit was, and he will crave it. You did not fail me. So I think the first thing that I want to say on that whole list that I posted, the first step is to ask for what you want. But you got to remember, that's not the first step. The first step is for you to check in and say, what would I love? Bibbidi bobbidi boo. If fairy godmother came, what would I love to feel? Not experience. I would love to have family parties where all my grandkids are around. That does not happen in my world. What would I love to feel? Connected. So you don't get to the how. What would you love to feel? Ask God, can you teach me how to do this one? This is what I would love. And then you start talking to the people that are involved in your life and negotiate these relationships with the Spirit instead of without it. Because doing all of the things, hoping that you'll get the golden sticker and the way to go from God, because you figured out how to do all the things, so now you get the A, is not how it's supposed to be. It's not. So I'm gonna be done for today, but I want you all to know that there is more of this, step by step by step, in a change to get your brain into a space where you can be connected to God, connected to yourself, knowing what you need and what you would love without being selfish, and connected to others in the way that's the most supportive possible. If you don't believe that you can have that relationship, if your belief about that is waning, if you don't believe that it's okay for you to have what you would love and do it well without being selfish, if you don't believe that you can show up for others or others can show up for you, igniting your belief is the class for you. Come to my class. I have bishops who refer people to my program. I have a psychiatrist in town who refers people to my program. I have had therapists who have taken my program. This does not supersede therapy. It is adjunct, and it makes it work so much more powerfully. So if you are drawn to this, I would love to have you in a space. So thanks for being here. All right, all. Have a great day. I will see you tomorrow.